Okay, lesson 7, solving linear equations. Remember, linear equations is things of 1 degree. So we'll keep that in mind. Linear equations create a straight line. That's why they're called linear, or linear is the subroot of that word. So under properties on page 42, the properties of equality, these right here, they list out the properties of equality that we used last year in geometry. So we shouldn't really need to go over these again. I'm just going to give you a quick review so that you have them. First one, addition property of equality. When I say add the same number to both sides, it's literally adding 5 to both sides. You put addition property of equality. Whatever you're doing, put POE as an abbreviation, POE, property of equality, if it tells you to justify. Same thing for subtraction, same thing for multiplication, and same thing for division. Okay? Whenever you do something to both sides, notice that's the common thread that holds all these together, both sides, both sides, both sides. Then you have to write property of equality. That's what makes them equals, that we did it to both sides. So, solving an equation with one variable, again, just to review, you should be able to do these rather quickly. I'm just going to go through the examples. Be collaborative. Help me when I ask questions, and we will be done with this in no time flat. Okay, here's the problem. Write it down as I say it aloud. Negative 5x plus 12 equals negative 23. Okay, first step, I need all of the variables on one side, all of the other numbers on the other side. So what do I do first? Subtract 12 from each side. Say it loud, say it proud. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Okay, subtract 12 from both sides. I'm going to go ahead and do the justification out to the side so that you can see what we're doing. So, step 1, subtraction, property of equality, POE. Okay, so then we go ahead and do it. That would be our simplification step. Okay, those will cancel out. That's the whole point, right? We have negative 5x left on the left, and then on the right we have same sign sum. So it's negative 35. Next step is to what? Divide. So division, property of equality, divide by a negative 5. We still have problems getting these negatives to go away, so make sure that you write them down. X then equals, whoops, then equals 7. Okay, and that's our simplification step. And that would be the end of it if it asks for justification. Okay, any questions about it? Y'all should remember POE for the new people. POE saves you a lot of writing. Property of equality. Say again? I am. Example dose. Lots of followers on YouTube. I'm a big fan of YouTube math, so I thought I needed my own channel. Indeed, yes. I'll show you how to do that after. Okay, so here's the problem. It's the same first step, but we have to do it in 2 different, not necessarily 2 different, I say 2 different because it's usually 2 different steps, but we have to do it in 2 steps. We have to get all of the numbers to one side and all of the letters to the other. So, the easiest way that I've found is to get a non-negative. So if I want a non-negative piece with my letters, then which one of these do I have to move? The 2, the smallest one, right? So I'm going to subtract 2 in from both sides. To combine 2 steps, since I moved this to that side, I would need to move this to that side. So I would also subtract for this one. Okay? And if I'm doing my justification step, I would just put subtraction, property of equality, and simplify. So those would cancel out. I have negative 28 over here, equals, those would cancel out, and I have 4n over here. Next step, divide by 4, because remember 4n is actually multiplied by 4. N then would have to equal negative 7. Cool. Any questions about it? Again, just a review, so if we don't know it, we need to get it jumped into so that we can build on this. This is what we're building on throughout the year, so if we don't know how to do it, we're going to be in some serious trouble in a couple weeks. We're good? Example 3. This is where a little bit of order of operation comes in. Okay, so 12, open parentheses, r plus 3 equals 2, open parentheses, r plus 5 minus 3r. Alright. I don't want to be confused here. So what I'm going to tell you to do first is to distribute. Okay? So go ahead and distribute out the 12 and then distribute out the 2. So we get 12 going to r, which is 12r, 12 going to 3, which is 36, and I'm keeping that sign in between them. 2 going to r gives me 2r, 2 going to 5 gives me 10. And then this minus 3r is going to go back here. So step 1, go ahead and distribute. So I put distribution as my justification out to the side if I needed to. Next, I would combine like terms. So here I'm combining those two terms, and then I'll rewrite the problem. Okay, so 2 minus 3 is 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So we get negative r. You don't need to write negative 1r unless you just want to. But as an answer, you don't want to see 1r. You want to just see r. Okay, and then I'm just copying down the left side. I'm not doing anything with it. Just copying it down. Give you a second to catch up. Okay, so from here, I start the same processes that I had up here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start moving all of my letters to one side and all my numbers to the other. Okay, so I'm going to move this negative number because it's the smallest r. I always want to move the smallest letter because it makes my life easier in the end in my personal experience. Okay, so since I moved my letters to the left, I need to move my numbers to the right. So we get 13r equals a negative 26. Get rid of that 13 by dividing it on both sides, division property of equality, and then I get a negative 2. Just in case we forgot, I'm going to remind you how you run your checks. I literally just take this and I run it up here and I put it where the r is, and I run it up here and I put it where the r's are, and then I would solve. Okay? Check it, make sure it works. So here I have negative 2 plus 3, which gives me 1. 1 times 12 is just 12. Okay, then I come over here. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus a negative 6 gives me 12. Okay, so you just run a quick check. Most people can do these in their heads. If not, your calculator pretty much does it all for you. Any questions about that? Okay. One of our harder ones, just because we are afraid of fractions, is this one that we're about to do. So 1/2 x plus 4 equals negative 2/3 x plus 1/2. Okay. We should notice that automatically that there's not a common denominator. Okay. The common denominator is not already there, but we can make a common denominator, which we might do here in a second, depending on what we need to do. Okay. So first of all, I need to move my smallest x. Which one of these is my smallest? The negative 2/3. So I can do that by adding 2/3 to both sides. So I added that to make that go away, and then because I moved all of my letters to the left, I'm going to move my regular numbers to the right. So subtract 4, and then I'm going to solve these two problems. Okay, here's our first problem: 1/2 plus 2/3. So if I wanted to go out here to the side, which I'm going to for this problem, 1/2 plus 2/3, and then I need a common denominator. What's our common denominator going to be? 6. So after I find my common denominator, which is my least common multiple, I ask myself, how do I change a 2 to a 6? I multiply it by 3. What I do to one side, I must do to the other side of the fraction. So 3 times 1 is 3. And then here I say, what do I do to change a 3 to a 6? I multiply it by 2. And what I do to one side, I must do to the other. So 2 and 2 make 4. And then it's literally just adding straight across, and I get 7/6, or depending on how you want to read it, 1 and 1/6. Okay. So I'm going to leave it as 7/6. Okay, for the sake of this problem, I'm going to leave it as 7/6. So 7/6 x I leave it in a fraction form because it's a lot easier to read it as 7/6 when we're dealing with slope, because it's rise 7, run 6. And also, if I need to deal with fractions again, I can. Equals, now 1/2 minus 4, that one should be easy. It's 3 1/2. But in the event that you don't know how to do it, go ahead and, write it out. 1/2 minus 4. Common denominator is obviously going to be 2. Okay, so since this one's already got the common denominator, I go, okay, 1/2 minus, I need a common denominator 2. Remember that this one used to be just over a 1, so I'd multiply that one by 2 to get a 2, and I have to multiply the top by 2 to get it 8. And then it's 1 minus 8, which is negative 7 over 2. Now, we have a whole new problem. How do I get rid of 7/6 multiplied by x? I divide, right? I just do the reverse. Now, I'm going to write the division symbol here because it makes my life easier here in a second. But I'm dividing by 7/6. That one cancels. I'm left with just x like I wanted. And then I divide by 7/6. But everybody should be screaming at the top of their lungs that you cannot divide fractions. You must do what? Multiply by their reciprocal. Good. So I actually can't divide a fraction. I have to multiply by its reciprocal. What is the reciprocal of 7/6? 6/7, right? Just flip it over. Now, this makes my life super easy because those two will cancel out. These two will simplify, and the answer is negative 3. Because you get 1s on all the rest of these. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. I'm not going to put the 1 underneath there. And again, if I want to check it, I just plug it in and find it. Cool? This one should be your harder problem in all technicality. Okay, your calculators are really, really smart, so they ought to be able to help you with this, but you have to be able to identify when your calculator does something wrong. Okay? The most common mistake I see is somebody put this into a calculator and then they write down the decimal approximation instead of the exact number. And then they end up getting the whole problem wrong, and then they come and tell me, well, I did it in my calculator. I'm like, well, your calculator was wrong. Sorry. Or you made the mistake of rounding it when you shouldn't have. And that's the most common thing that I see, is that someone rounds it when they shouldn't have. Example 5, last one. Okay, they give us a whole bunch of words, but we just really need to find the parts that are important. So, according to the 2000 census, 2000 is an important number here. It says the 3 smallest states in the United States were North Dakota, Vermont, and Wyoming. The total populations of these 3 states is, and then it gives us a number, 1,774,779. Okay, that's an important number. If Vermont has a population of 623,000, big numbers, 623,908, and North Dakota has a population of 635,867. Then it asks, what is the population of Wyoming? So the most interesting thing that I see on this entire problem, besides all the large numbers that I have to write down, is the fact that Albuquerque Metro, just Albuquerque itself, has a bigger population than this state and the other state. Crazy, right? The one city has a bigger population than all this. South Dakota is right in there with North Dakota. Say what? Oh, I don't know. Most of them are in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, I'll tell you that. I don't know the exact number, though. I have no idea. Other than Albuquerque and Santa Fe, we're just an assortment of a bunch of smaller towns. Gallup might be a little big one. There's really not that many big ones, though. Taos, maybe. Alright, so anyways, all I got to do is solve this problem. I'm not going to solve this problem because it's a lot of big numbers that I have to write down. You just have to do it carefully. What I want you to make sure to do is that you're solving the same way. I combine quote-unquote like terms, regular numbers, and then I'm going to move them to this side, and then that isolates my W. Okay? Be careful when dealing with big numbers. When you type them into your calculator, check them really quickly. People get lazy, and then they get one number wrong. You get one number wrong in a 6-digit number, you're going to make someone real angry. Okay? Be careful when you're working with numbers, especially when it deals with other people's money.